Welcome back to the Team O'Neill Rally School. We wanted to interrupt our regularly scheduled program just to say a huge thank you to all of you out there. We are honored and humbled to have reached 100,000 subscribers on this channel. So we wanted to just take a couple cars out real quick and answer sort of the top 5 most asked questions throughout the last year or two on our YouTube channel. The first one of those that we're going to address real quick on our how to do a burnout video was, how would you do it if you had a front wheel drive car? So the answer is, it's really simple. All we're gonna do is select first gear, hold the handbrake up really stiff. That's gonna hold the rear brakes stopped so that we can rev the engine and dump the clutch, and that'll spin the front tires. This car is a little tricky. It's not gonna sit there and just spin the tires. Most front wheel drive cars have an open differential, so just one tire is gonna sit there and spin. This is a rally car. We've got a really mean limited slip differential in this. It's a plate diff, so both tires are gonna spin at the same time, and in this car, that just drags the back end. You know, if your front wheel drive car doesn't have enough power to do a burnout normally, your other option is to roll back into it. And all that means is put it in reverse, get a little speed up, and then once you're moving, put it in first gear, rev the engine to dump the clutch, then hold the handbrake. And you'll find you can do a burnout pretty easily with almost any car without too much of a problem. So our second question isn't really even so much of a question. It was just kind of people calling us idiots. Our first video that went over 1 million views was about this tire tractionizing machine, which is something that we use for ice racing. In specific classes where you're not allowed to run studded tires, it does a wonderful job of breaking up that tire tread surface and making sure you've got some grip on really slippery, icy roads. Obviously, that's not something you're gonna use on your street car. It's not something you're going to want to actually do unless you're in that very specific situation. You know, if you were going to take a tractionized tire out on pavement, it's going to be squirming all over the place. It's not going to give you a really good grip at all, and the car's just going to feel kind of crappy and wobbly. And then if you did take it out even on gravel like this, you know, it really wouldn't be too many laps at all before your tires were essentially ruined. So basically the moral of the story is, if you run tractionized tires for anything other than pure ice racing, they're gonna look like this in no time, like literally half an hour. The next most asked question that we got was on our all-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive video, how to tell if your vehicle is all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And it's actually really easy. Just get into whatever your vehicle is, select whatever option it has for four-wheel drive, and you're just gonna drive around in a tight circle. If your vehicle's a true four-wheel drive like this, it's gonna skip and hop and kind of feel bound up a little bit because your front and rear drive shafts are stuck going the same speed, even though the front tires are taking a longer track than the rear. So typically those rear tires are gonna kind of skip and chatter and hop, and it's gonna make some bad noises maybe. Definitely do this on gravel or snow and get a feel for it. If you do this on pavement, you can try it, it's your vehicle, but it could lead to some damage and definitely some clunks and bangs and bad noise. And what you'll notice, you know, the tires are hopping and skipping and kind of chunking along at the ground, where if you hop in an all-wheel drive car like this Subaru, but really, you know, any Audi, Volkswagen all-wheel drive product, Mercedes, whatever it might be, any actual all-wheel drive car, if you can drive around in a really tight circle like this without hearing any tires skipping or feeling something jerky in the steering or the driveline binding up or hearing any bad noises, you know, from this center tunnel area or from the rear end, you've got an all-wheel drive car. Especially now in years gone by, manufacturers did label some all-wheel drive cars four-wheel drive, some four-wheel drive cars all-wheel drive, whatever it might be. And that's really just the easiest test in the world, just to check if you have true four-wheel drive or some of the many variants of all-wheel drive systems. The next question that we get all the time, both from people that come through here at the Rally School and on the YouTube channel, is brakes. Left foot braking must kill your brakes, your brake pads and your rotors and everything else. What we typically find, I checked with the guys down in the shop, and even in our Rally School cars here that are abused pretty much every week by pretty much brand new to left foot braking folks is that we get between 6 months and a year out of the brake pads. So we're going to take just a quick little lap around here in the Fiesta and show you a little bit of left foot braking just so you get a feel for it if you're new to the channel. Especially in a front wheel drive car like this, there's a dozen reasons you might be left foot braking. Number one's always reaction time. You know, if your left foot's over that brake pedal, you can be super quick to it in the event of an emergency or just braking late coming into corners. You know, you can control the wheel spin on the front tires by squeezing the brake a little bit with your left foot. You can keep a turbo car like this spooled up by leaving the gas on and just squeezing a little brake as you come into corners. You can use it as poor man's ABS when you're going to brake hard. Keep a little bit of throttle on in a front wheel drive car and you can keep those front tires from locking up as you come into a corner. And then really you're using your left foot on the brake and your right foot on the gas to control the weight transfer. As you're coming in and out of corners, you're balancing the car between the brakes and the throttle, and you can really get a very deliberate and long sustained pitch to that car where you're holding the nose down coming into corners, and that gives you a lot better grip on the front tires, and you're going to be a lot faster on any surface if you are left foot braking. You know, as you start experimenting, you'll find more reasons kind of on your own, or obviously if you come through rally school, we'll show you some more tricks. If you're driving a front wheel drive car on gravel, you're gonna have a lot of different purposes for it than you might if you're on a rear wheel drive on tarmac or an all-wheel drive in the winter. But there's a ton of different reasons, and it opens up a whole lot of options when you start really learning car control. The last question that we've got is often about rev matching, heel toe shifting, and all of this stuff. So let's take a quick little look at some of that. So as far as rev matching, you know, on gravel, it's just not such a big deal. Or even on pavement, you know, if you're really at the point where you're sliding around and you're kind of going for it anyways, when you downshift and let the clutch out, all that's gonna happen is it's gonna drag those drive wheels for a second. That might get you into a skid, but you know, where it is really trying on pavement, it's gonna be pretty smooth if you're sliding around.